Hello everyone, welcome to Topper IAS. So as part of our daily series, today also we will look into the news taken from Hindu as well as PIB. Okay, so let's get started. So the first one news is from Supreme Court. It says there is no immunity for acts of vandalism in house. You see the parliamentary proceedings. So unaccepted behavior sometimes is being seen. So there are criticisms which are being raised for the such behavior of the parliamentarians. See what Supreme Court has now said that basically member of parliamentarians will be enjoying certain privileges and immunities. So what kind of privileges is like they have a collective individual rights and certain collective privileges, individual privileges and collective privileges. So example like free speech, they have freedom of speech and expression within the house. Okay, but what the Supreme Court has said that these privileges and immunities that they enjoy, they are meant to enable them to perform their essential functions without hindrance, fear or favor. For example, freedom of speech and expression I said, so they should be free to communicate their thoughts and views. They should not have any fear, only then they can perform their essential functions. So what is the essential function of the house? The essential function of house is to collective deliberation and decision making, right? So only they have the certain privileges, those kind of things, they can do this function. But you see the privileges bear a functional relationship to the discharge of the function of a legislator. So they are not a mark of status which makes legislators stand on an unequal pedestal, meaning the privileges that you enjoy is meant to serve the function of a legislator, that is dealing with deliberation and decision making. Okay, meaning of that. Then this for example, constitution only grants the members the freedom of speech that is necessary for their active participation in meaningful deliberation without any fear of prosecution. So focusing solely on the right to free speech, privileges and immunities of the legislators without paying attention to their duties is like missing the wood of the trees. Meaning is, if you just focus on free and speech without performing your essential function, that is to conduct deliberation and law making process, you are just focusing on free speech and you are not doing your essential function. So it is like a missing the wood for the trees. Okay, and the judgment referred to the growing recognition and consensus in parliament as well as Supreme Court for zero tolerance toward destruction of public and private property in the name of protest. So protest is fine, but it should not lead to destruction of property and all those stuff. So that's why the vandalism kind of activities are not tolerable, is what the Supreme Court is saying. And the rights and immunities, privileges that you enjoy should be enjoyed only to perform your essential function, not to go against it. Then next news is with respect to Chandrayana 3. See, we know Chandrayana 1, Chandrayana 2 and now they are saying Chandrayana 3 will be launched in late next year. So already like Chandrayana 2 was there, which was launched in 2019, right, was scheduled. So what was the aim is to, we wanted to land a rover on lunar south pole, and it was launched through powerful geosynchronous launch vehicle, particularly GSLV Mark 3. Okay, but however the mission was not completely successful, as the lander Vikram, instead of controlled landing, it ended up crash landing on the moon. So that's why we lost the contact and all those stuff. So it was not completely successful. Now they are planning for Chandrayana 3 in the coming year. Okay, then cabinet clears amendments to LLP Act. So limited liability partnership. See, basically limited liability partnership, what is the meaning of this? You can see the last point. This is a kind of partnership structure where each partner will have a liability according to the investment that he does. Okay, so that's what, there is not complete liability or responsibility. So depending on his investment, he will be having certain responsibilities. So cabinet on Wednesday cleared amendments to limited liability partnership act of 2008. So what it does certain things like removal of certain provisions, and it also added amendments to include a new definition for small LLPs and it is said that this kind of definition will benefit more than 2.3 lakh LLP firms, and it will also ease the doing business for corporates, and it is also removing certain criminal related sections, so that will be replaced with penalties. No need for criminalizing, rather just impose the penalties. Okay, so go through it. We will again cover what will happen. Then Assam-Mizoram agree to CAPF deployment. So you know the issue, the border issue between Assam and Mizoram, which led to violent clashes on the border, even loss of lives, right? So 6 policemen and another person were killed in the border clash between the two states, and now they are agreeing for the deployment of central force, that is Central Armed Police Force. Okay, so you should know what is exactly the border dispute is. See, basically, traditionally Mizoram, you know that right now Mizoram and Assam are sharing a border, okay, and Mizoram borders Assam's Barak Valley, that you remember, and the border runs around 165 kilometers, and it has a history. See, traditionally Mizoram, historically it was part of Assam, and it was known as Lusha Hills, but the boundary demarcation happened in 1875 and 1933. So this was under the Act of Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act. So what happened is, during the first times, the Lushai Hills, so that is Mizoram, was separated from the plains of Kachar in Assam's Barak Valley. Okay, and during this separation, the consent of the Mizo chiefs was taken. But what they did is, later in 1933 there was again a demarcation, but they did not take the consult of Mizo chiefs, and the Mizos do not accept this demarcation of 1933 on the ground that their chiefs were not consulted this time. Okay, so that is what the issue is. So according to Mizo leaders, the only acceptable boundary is the inner line of 1875 on the southern frontier. So remember, traditional problem is their border issue. So it is this has to be resolved, and central government has to play a mediation role, and that is only possible when both states are willing to cooperate to resolve the issue. So that's it for today. You can also download the PDF of this link in the PDF of this document in the link that is shared below, and do download Topper IAS Institute app so that you get access to n number of these videos. Thank you.